Quaramonte, the traveler's rear entrance to Central America. Well, that's how it was translated in the brochure. We didn't know what we were looking for, but the offices of Condor Transglobal seemed a good place to start.
Hey, it's market day. I don't see any cabs. Let's ask someone how to get to Quaramonte City.
Okay. Keep your eyes peeled for any sign of Condor Transglobal. Hey, cheer up, guys. What's with the long faces?
Our pipe player has been arrested and thrown in jail.
Poor Miguel. He never broke the law in his life.
Why was Miguel put in jail?
For playing folk music.
What?
It's true, senor. He insisted on playing traditional Quaramonte music, even though it's illegal.
Why don't you try playing a tune to cheer yourselves up?
No, we should be looking for real jobs.
We could earn 10 times as much down the mines. My cousin Ramirez was earning 8 pesos an hour.
Before he lost his legs in the accident.
Tell me about the accident at the mine.
There was an explosion at Teoculcan. 30 miners were buried alive.
They got some of them out, though.
2 of them, including your cousin, and they left half of him behind.
Have you seen anything like...
I, the hungry chief.
Why are you carrying that thing around with you, senor? Don't you know who it is?
No. Do tell me.
It is Tezcatlipoca, god of death and blood.
Take a look at the design on this label.
I have seen that before.
Where?
There was a ship flying a flag just like that.
When did you see this ship?
3 months ago. It was here, at the docks.
What was the ship with the Condor flag carrying?
I don't know, senor. We weren't allowed near the docks.
That's right. Usually we meet the ships when they tie up.
We play to the tourists.
Well, when the Condor ship came in, we were told to go away.
Hey, Nico!
George Stobart, well, of all the...
Mrs. Henderson! Boy, this is some coincidence, huh?
When you've been married to a fruitcake like Dwayne as long as I have, you stop believing in coincidence.
I'd met Pearl and Dwayne on the other side of the globe in Syria. He was an Army veteran who suspected he was working for the CIA, but wasn't sure. She was less obviously deranged. Catch you later, Pearl. Hey, Nico!
I have done just as I have been instructed, Professor. With the mine closed down, there'll be no one around to observe your excavations. Ah, I have visitors.
Just remember what I told you, General. There's really no need to make a martyr out of that man.
I'm sorry to keep you waiting, senor. Welcome to Quaramonte.
Thanks. My name's George Stobart from California.
But what is this? An angel come down to earth.
Nicole Collard. Enchanté, mon général.
Pardon me, senorita, but I couldn't help myself.
Look, we'd like to ask you a few questions.
You've come to the right place, senor. Tourist information. General Graciento, at your service.
This is the tourist office? It says police on the sign outside.
It is both, senor. I am a man of many parts.
I can see that, General.
Have you heard of a guy called Karzak?
No. No, I never heard of him.
I hear there was an accident at the mine a few months ago.
That's correct.
A lot of men killed, weren't there?
A few.
30?
Barely 1% of the working population.
Is it true there's a restriction on music in Quaramonte?
Yes, there is. An emergency measure introduced by Nuestra Senora.
Folk music is a link with the past for some of these people. Take away their musical roots and what do they got left?
Easy listening.
You think easy listening could replace a musical heritage hundreds of years old?
Why not? It happened in your country.
Who was the guy you were talking to when we arrived?
Professor Ubier. A visitor, senor, like yourselves.
Did you say Ubier?
Si, senor. Professor Ubier, a French archaeologist.
What's Ubier doing in Quaramonte?
Researching our rich and glorious past, senor. The professor is planning an expedition to some Mayan ruins. He came to see me to get an excavation permit.
I'll be back.
Senor. Leave that child alone.
Do you have a map of Quaramonte?
A map? I'm sorry, senor, but I don't.
What about the one on the wall?
Ah, that is an archaeological survey map, senor. Not suitable for tourists.
I'll be back. Did you notice that chart on the police station wall?
Yes, it looked like a map to me, but I couldn't make out the details.
Whatever it was, the general didn't want us to see it. You came on a little strong with the general.
I was merely flattering his ego, Georges. Every man has his Achilles heel.
Maybe, but that guy's weakness isn't in his foot. Tell me about this Karzak guy.
Well, I saw him for only a few minutes, but he frightens me. I got the impression that Pablo was nervous when he was around too. His eyes, they're like a wild animal's, like a tiger. That's what scared me most about him. He looked so unpredictable and dangerous.
Labano tells me he's been seeing a lot of you.
We meet sometimes for lunch, a drink. After you'd gone back to the States, I was pretty lonely, you know.
Lonely? You must have been desperate. Couldn't you just visit the zoo or something? That man we saw talking to the general was Ubier. Didn't you recognize him?
I never met him, remember? The guy I called in Paris claimed to be Ubier, but he sounded nothing like the man in the police station. Maybe the professor really is innocent.
Nah, it's too much of a coincidence that he's here in Quaramonte. Professor Ubier?
Yes? Who are you?
My name is Stobart. George Stobart.
I thought that face was familiar. Remember me, George? Dwayne Henderson.
Hi, Dwayne. Just a moment. I have a few questions to ask the professor here. Does the name Karzak mean anything to you?
Yes, I know him. In fact, if it wasn't for Kazakh, I wouldn't be here.
What?
He's financing my expedition.
What do you know about my girlfriend's abduction?
I don't know what you're talking about.
She was invited to your mansion in Paris.
Not by me, she wasn't. I haven't been home for nearly 7 months.
Have you ever employed a Central American butler or servant?
I've never employed any kind of servant, monsieur.
Can you identify this statue, Professor?
Oh, yes. Tezcatlipoca, the Lord of Darkness.
A Central American god, right?
A supreme deity. Tezcatlipoca means, literally, smoking mirror. There. You see the mirror shield in his left hand? The Mayans believed he could look into the mirror and see into the hearts of men. He was the wind which came howling in the night in search of victims. And victims they gave him by the thousand.
Human sacrifices?
Men, women, children, animals, anything that bled. The steps of his temple ran red with the blood of sacrifices. The Mayans have a legend that says he'll return one day. I hope I'm not around to see it.
Do you see this label?
Yes. It refers to a company named Condor. What of it?
I traced that company here, to Quaramonte. Do you know where I can find the offices of Condor Transglobal?
The company no longer exists. They went bankrupt recently.
I have proof that you are directly involved with Condor.
I used them as shippers to transport artifacts to a gallery in Paris. Beyond that, I have no connection with the company, which, as I said, no longer exists.
Do you know anything about this eclipse, Professor?
Of course. It's not the reason I'm here in Quaramonte, but I'm looking forward to seeing it all the same.
What's your interest in the eclipse, Professor?
Oh, it's purely a layman's curiosity. History's my subject, not astronomy. But I've been fascinated by the movements of the heavenly bodies since I was a child. I wouldn't miss a total eclipse for the world.
Does the eclipse have some special significance for you?
From me? No. For the ancient Mayans, it marked the end of the Fifth Age.
Perhaps we should be celebrating.
Ah, no. The end of each age heralds destruction on a global scale. The fifth is the final age, ending in the total destruction of the Earth.
Take a look at this, Professor. What have you got to say about that?
Where did you get this?
Never mind that. How do you explain these withdrawals?
I left my financial affairs in the hands of my secretary.
Including the withdrawal of funds in cash from your personal account?
I trust Gwyneth implicitly.
And why Marseille? Why the very place my girlfriend was taken?
That's obvious, Stobart. We are both the victims of the same devious plot.
What plot?
I have no idea.
The old woman was preparing a food that consisted of ground maize and lots of spittle. Are you still working for you know who?
You know I can't talk about my work, George. That's between me and Uncle Sam.
Do you think the general was involved with Condor?
Hell no. And if he's a general, I'm a Buddhist. No, that fella's just a mouthpiece for the real power in Quaramonte.
So the general is nothing but a puppet?
He's like Pinocchio before he met the Blue Rinse Fairy. Strictly strings and wood.
Who's pulling the strings?
His mother. Better known as La Presidenta, the dictator.
Does the name Karzak mean anything to you?
Sounds like a comic book villain to me, son.
He's the man behind Condor, and the rat who kidnapped Nico.
You know, the first time I met you, I was deeply impressed with your naive simplicity. I said to Pearl, if we ever had kids, I would have wanted a boy like George. But I underestimated you, son.
Did you know that traditional music is illegal in Quaramonte?
Is that so? Seems reasonable to me.
No, really. The leader of the band in the square has been imprisoned just because of the music he played.
I don't know who you've been talking to, but that fella, Miguel, he's an agitator.
What's the real reason the musician was imprisoned?
Handed out subversive literature at the mines. That so-called general was waiting for Miguel when he got back into town. Marched him off to jail at gunpoint on a charge of inciting a riot.
I spoke to Pearl earlier.
Yeah? Did she mention that we had a kind of falling out?
No, she didn't.
Well, we did. She ain't speaking to me.
Why isn't Pearl speaking to you?
She got it into her head to go visit some ruins. I'd take her if it wasn't for two things.
What?
I don't wanna, and I ain't gonna.
Did you drive all the way down here?
Hell no. Pearl did the driving while I followed the maps. The way she handled the wheel, you'd think she'd been trucking half her life.
Why did you bring a huge truck like that?
George, I'm on a top-secret classified mission for Uncle Sam. This truck is a rolling bomb. 400 pounds of nitrate fertilizer with a plastique initiator. They'll hear the bang in China. Gee, I'm really looking forward to this.
Is Miguel the reason you're here?
Pretty smart, George. I was supposed to make contact with him. By the time I found him, though, he was in jail. I've been trying to figure out a way to get him out since then.
Sounds good to me. Count me in.
Good man, George. All I need is a detonator.
How come you brought a truckload of explosives but no detonator?
Call me old-fashioned, but I say packing trunks is woman's work. I left the packing to Pearl, and I can't find a darn thing. Just hope she remembered to bring my denture polish. I'd sure hate to arrive back in the States with tar on my teeth.
Do you know anything about a shipping company called Condor Transglobal?
Sure I do. You have to get up pretty early to catch Dwayne with his pants down.
What? You beat me to it?
Condor Transglobal is all wound up. Seems like my investigations scared them off.
Did you find any evidence of Condor's drug smuggling operations?
Drugs? Hell no! Condor was a cover for the illegal export of Mayan artifacts.
So who was behind Condor Transglobal?
It was registered in the name of Edan.
Did you get the guy?
I don't think he ever existed. Edan backwards spells Nady, Spanish for nobody.
What was that? It's a lump of lucky coal. Coal? I would have preferred chocolate. Any flavor, so long as it hasn't got marzipan in it. God, I hate marzipan. You can talk. I mean, you're a talking goat. Keep your voice down. This is between you and me, right? Well, I guess so. I mean it. You tell anyone you've spoken to me, and you'll be cursed.
Hey, Nico!
Hola, señora.
Hi. We were wondering...
I was talking to the lady, Chico.
Hi, my name is Nicole Collard.
Concha Garcia. How can I help you, sister?
The corporation I represent is considering a major investment in Quaramonte. Your advice, as the head of an obviously successful concern, is precisely what I'm after. My assistant, Mr. Stobart, has a few questions he'd like to ask you.
Do you know Professor Ubier?
Yes. I understand he is about to embark on an archaeological expedition. He hired some equipment from me earlier today.
I overheard him talking to the general. I think they're working together.
What? If I'd known that, I wouldn't have hired out the equipment. Now, why would the general be interested in an archaeologist?
Can you tell me about the accident at the mine?
Accident? It was sabotage. Somebody wanted my mine closed down for good.
Do you have any evidence that the mine was sabotaged?
Not yet, but I'll get to the bottom of it. There'd been trouble at that mine for several months. The workforce was getting smaller every day. Someone had started a rumor among the men that the mine was cursed. Now the entire operation has been closed down.
Where's the site of the mine?
Several days upriver at a remote area known as Teoculcan.
Do you have any kind of detonating device in stock?
Sure. They're kept in that cupboard.
I don't suppose you have one spare?
I can't simply give you a device like that, no without a damn good reason.
The general has a chart in his office, which he was discussing with Ubier.
Perhaps that chart will tell us where they're heading.
Maybe, but I can't get anywhere near it while the general and his sidekick are there. Have you heard of a man named Karzak?
No? Who is he?
He's the reason we came to Quaramonte. We think he's running a drug ring.
Well, I hope you find him, but I've never heard the name before.
Could you distract the general while I took a look at that chart?
You're kidding. Did you see the way he was leering at me?
Yeah, you'd make a great snake charmer. Come on, 5 minutes is all I need.
Well, maybe. But it's your harebrained scheme. You do the talking.
My girlfriend has a favor she wants to ask you, General.
For you, my dear, anything.
I've changed my mind.
Oh, no, you haven't. She's embarrassed about asking you for an interview, General.
An interview with me? Fabuloso!
Well, I want to write a story about you.
You hear that, Ronaldo? An exclusive glossy spread about your beloved general.
Si, Signor General.
Look after things here. I'm going back to my apartment and I don't want to be disturbed.
I'll get you for this, George Stobart.
Don't worry. If you're gone for more than a couple of hours, I'll come and get you.
A couple of hours?
Why aren't you speaking to Dwayne?
Because he's an old spoil-sport sourpuss. I want to visit one of those old pyramid places, but Dwayne says he has to stay in town.
Right. And you don't want to go on your own.
Well, there's no point in going to the pyramid if there's no one around to take my picture.
Is Dwayne still working for the CIA?
If he is, he doesn't know it. He's what they call a snoozer.
Don't you mean a sleeper?
No, this is different. He used to think he worked for them, but the psychotherapy cured him of that. What he doesn't realize is that now he really does work for them. At least that's the way I understood it.
Catch you later, Pearl. Hi, I'm George Stobart.
Hello, senor. How can I help you?
Are there any ancient pyramids near Quaramonte?
Si, senor. But it's not very impressive. It's in ruins.
That's perfect. Would you take my friend to the ruins now the general's gone?
I'd be honored, senor.
Thanks. I'll go get her. I've made the arrangements for your visit to the temple, Pearl.
Oh, that's just great, George. Why don't you come too, honey?
I'd love to, but right now I have to save the world.
Listen, sweetie. I'm looking for an official guide to take me to the old pyramid.
For a lovely lady, I would go to the ends of the earth. For you, I will go as far as the pyramid and back. But what about your husband?
What he doesn't know won't hurt him. Let's go, Beanpole.
As Pearl and Ronaldo set out for the ruined pyramid, I prepared to search the police station. It looked like a geological survey map showing the land to the southeast of Quaramonte City. About 60 miles inland and upstream was an area marked Teoculcan. I got a good look at that chart in the police station. It's a map of Quaramonte.
Does it tell us where Ubier is heading?
Yeah, a place called Teoculcan.
That's the site of the mine. I wonder why they're being so secretive about Ubier's plans. One thing's for sure. If the general's involved, they're up to no good. I'd like to talk to that musician Miguel. Take the detonator and get him out of that jail.
Here is the detonator, Dwayne.
Keep your voice down, George. You want everyone to know. You'd best go and warn Miguel that the U.S. cavalry's on the way.
Okay. Hey, Miguel.
What is it? What is happening?
We're getting out of here.
Who's we? They've sent the Delta Force.
Nope.
The Impossible Missions Force.
Don't make me sick. Much better.
Who then?
A retired greetings card salesman from Ohio.
I'm doomed.
You're not the only one.
I should have known you'd be trouble the moment I saw you.
Look, I can explain everything.
Get in that cell, now.
And what if I refuse?
He'll shoot you.
Okay, here I am, going quietly into the cell.
Very wise, North Americano scum.
One of the reasons I hate guns so much is the way they make people so damned impolite.
I hope you're enjoying your vacation, Senor Stobart.
Go polish your weapon, Ronaldo.
This was part of your plan, right?
Well, in a manner of speaking, no. I was all out of ideas. It was up to Nico now.